everyone, and welcome. I want to tell you why now is the perfect time to start practicing. Obviously, it's good to do often, but it's easy to overlook or completely forget about while other things take importance, and then it gets harder and harder to start. When was the last time you practiced without actually making art? Or do you practice at all? Or are you like me and have trouble getting started sometimes? By the way, the video that you're watching in the background is me practicing eyes. I'll get to how I did that in a moment, but first I just want to tell you why I want to talk about this today. Recently, I went through a slump. It seems I go through them often, usually every couple of months or so. Not only did I stop drawing, but last time I also stopped practicing. Being someone who is learning on her own, extended breaks from practice are not only detrimental to learning the skills I want, but also my outlook on any progress I might have made. A regular practice routine is very important to me, otherwise I can feel like I'm sliding backwards, and if I backslide too much, it gets so much harder and harder to start again. I've made a couple of videos to watch when I do get like this, and they do help. Practice is something else though. I'm talking about consciously trying to make an effort to understand what's going on when I draw instead of doing mindless drawing, which is also good, by the way, if you're completely stalled. So I define practice as observing something and trying to replicate it and understand the results when I attempt to draw it, and eventually being able to draw it from memory. It could be anything, but I have an expected outcome to learn something from it. Now, it doesn't matter if it doesn't look good. The point is to practice that thing and do many repetitions to reinforce it and get better. Many skills are honed by practice: observation, problem solving, dexterity. So here comes the problem I got into, and I'm putting this out there in case it's common. I don't know. Tell me if you get like this. But for me, practicing stuff is ugly, messy, and more often than not, I might forget its practice altogether and try to make it into a sketch or a drawing. Of course, I get disappointed with the results, and it sends me into the I can't draw spiral down so far I might actually start believing it. So without realizing it, I've stopped practicing because now I'm trying to draw something. The other obstacle is I don't like it when I can't draw things. I know. It's that simple. Also, it's currently winter here. My hands are frozen. It makes it really hard to draw nice things. That's my excuse anyway. Okay, now I'm looking at my to-do list and I realise that I haven't had a practice session in a really long time. So I schedule it back in and make myself do it for 20 minutes. I mean, I could have made it for 5 or 10 minutes, but 20 seemed better for me, at least for the minimum. Now, I didn't just start practicing straight away. I had to trick myself into it. I used my freezing fingers as the excuse, and I actually wrote it down and called it warm-up sketching at first. Then I went to Pinterest and looked through my figure folder because I haven't done them in a while, and sat down to draw them for 20 minutes to warm my hands up. Yep, even I'm rolling my eyes right now. I don't know why I get so adverse to doing things that are good for me, but whatever works, I suppose. What I was really doing was practicing figures, and they were horrible. I'll show you. All wrong in different ways depending on the day, so this was going to put me off at this rate. What I needed was a mental shift. I remind myself I am allowed to draw crappy. No one has to see this stuff. Well, I didn't know I was going to show it today, but that's fine. I needed permission to draw ugly and messy while I figure out what's going on. I'll look at what I did and observe my mistakes and the things that I don't like and the things that I want to improve on, and I also see some things that are kind of okay. This whole endeavour turns into practice just like that. Now, every morning, which is usually my most productive time of the day for the past week or so, I've been able to sit down and draw for 20 minutes. If you have trouble getting motivation to do it, I definitely recommend finding out what time of the day you get the most things done and make a promise to set out to do 5 or 10 or 20 minutes, whichever suits you best. For me, this is the perfect time for practice, right now, in the mornings. It has become an easy task to complete once I gave myself permission to draw ugly. Find your most productive time of the day and set out to learn something. There is always something to learn. So about the video you're watching right now, it was a study or practice session I did, actually several weeks ago before I went into my slump. I wanted to practice eyes in pencil, so I went to Pinterest again and made a collage of different eyes from different angles. I cut them out and pasted them together. I changed them to black and white so I didn't get distracted by colour and set out to draw some eyes. So you saw me starting with finding the biggest shape, which was the entire eye socket, and then place the eyeball inside, which I don't normally do it this way, but sometimes it's good to practice doing things a different way. I think of it as exploring the subject. I don't think I would continue to do it that way unless I was having particular trouble placing the eyeball in there, but anyway. I keep using all the shapes I can identify and do my best to draw them. I also use negative shapes inside the eyes to help me size them a little bit better because I do tend to draw mine too large. Once I have the obvious stuff down, I start to reinforce what I feel confident in and fix up what I don't like the pupils. Although I still couldn't get them to be right, but that's okay as long as I can see the things that need to be worked on and practiced. Then I start a bit of shading to give it a sense of being a form and not just an outline or contours. One of the problems that can come up is if you do too much work on one eye and not being able to replicate that on the other eye. That's why it can be good to work on both at the same time or really close together. Do one side, do a few pencil marks on one side and then move to the other one just to try and keep things a little bit even so you're not stuck being exhausted after doing one eye and not having the energy to go through the second one. I never stop trying to fix errors as I see them, and with the last bits of shading and emphasis, it's nearly done as far as what I wanted to study. Not only am I studying how to draw the eyes, but I'm also practicing using my tools. The pencil, how soft or hard I make my marks, how I might hold it in my hand even. My erasers, how I can more effectively use them. Can I erase this small part with or not with a kneaded eraser? I don't know, that's why I try it out. If it doesn't work, I'll try a different eraser. And things like other tools like the paper stump, how can I use that to soften some pencil marks or create soft edges? I'm using my observation skills and honing them to spot areas that aren't being represented well or accurately. I'm exercising patience with the whole thing and the time that it takes to work through the problem solving, which is another skill itself that I'm exercising. All these hidden skills are being worked while I do these studies or practice sessions, and that's why I think they are really, really important and it's always a good time to do them. One thing is I always have trouble preserving the white of the paper where the eyeline or waterline sits, so I'm trying out how I can do better for that part. I might not have solved it in this study, but if I do more, I'm sure I will get better and drawing that part will become second nature and I won't have to think so hard about it. And I think that's a good goal to make drawing easier is chunking and automating parts of your knowledge. Right now, when I draw eyes, I have to think of each individual part, but I hope with continued practice I can do more without having to do that. I have 2 more studies I did in this session, but I think I will make that into a second video just to keep this one on topic. That way I can spend more time explaining what's going on in the study. I hope I can encourage you to keep practicing and keep going. I don't think it really matters how fast you learn something as long as you just keep making small steps, so let's just keep doing that.